Hey, so I got my foam roller here, and I'll show you a quick demo on how to use it, okay? So basically, how it works is we have these muscle knots, right, or adhesions, anywhere in our body, and what we're doing is we're putting pressure on these knots and releasing the tension, right? So we're inhibiting the overactive or tight muscle with what we call self-myofascial release. So foam rolling is a good tool to use to induce SMR, but also you can use a tennis ball or a circular object to actually concentrate on the knot, because sometimes a foam roller isn't strong enough to penetrate the actual knot. So the knot is kind of cross-hatched like this, right? And so when we put sustained pressure on the knot for about 30 to 45 seconds, we're basically breaking up that knot. And then what we do is we stretch that muscle afterwards, and eventually we try to realign those fibers with the rest of the fascia muscles. Okay? So let me just show you what areas this foam roller commonly addresses, okay? So, and what you do is you basically just foam roll all over the body, and whenever you find pain, you want to hold that pressure for anywhere between 30 seconds and a minute. I always say if it's extremely painful, 30 seconds, and if it's less painful, maybe a minute. Okay? So if we're going to do maybe the thoracic spine right now, we're going to start up at the top, and we're just going to slowly move back and forth, up and down, all the way to the middle of the back, okay? Go just like this. And then you can do the lumbar spine all the way down, okay? And again, you want to move slow because you don't want to overexcite the muscle, okay? So there's the back, there are the lats, that's a popular one for people. If you do a lot of overhead movements, people have tight lats, so you want to kind of just roll like this, extending your arm and rotate in and outward. And just, if you find something painful, just hold it. It's really that simple, okay? So the lats are a good area to tackle. The TFL, which is on the outside of the hip, is really popular for people. So it's right below the pelvic bone, the hip bone actually. So you kind of have to play around with it and just move around all the way up from the TFL all the way down to the iliotibial band or the IT band. You can roll up and down there too, to the side of the leg. You can do the hip flexors, so basically just the front side. TFL's on the outside, right? You can do one leg at a time. Okay. The adductors is another popular one. So for that, you want to straddle the foam roller like this, extend one leg out, and just roll on the inside of your thigh. And again, move nice and slow. Okay. And then we have the hamstrings. People have tight hamstrings all the time, I see. So for that, we start right below the glutes, cross one leg over, and just roll forward and back from the top of the hip to the patella, or the kneecap. Alright? Do the other side. And then lastly, the calves. Now, I guarantee you might have tight calves. Usually everyone does, especially if you wear heels all the time. Because when you're wearing heels all the time, or an elevated heel shoe, your calves are constantly in a tight flex position, and obviously the range of motion will be shortened. So same principle, you cross your foot and rotate inside, outside, up and down, and whenever it's painful, just sustain that pressure, okay? And again, you can use a tennis ball, lacrosse ball, softball, something, if a foam roller isn't really hitting that muscle knot hard enough, okay? So after you do that, after you hit every muscle knot, you want to stretch it. So for calves, you want to do, obviously, dorsiflexion, right, with your calf. Your hamstrings, obviously hamstring stretch, hip flexor stretch, you know, what else? What else? Adductors, lunges, etc., etc. So just play around with it. Hope that sort of gave you a good introduction. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, okay? Hope you enjoyed.